Hi, everybody. Welcome to Behind the Scenes. And we have a big crowd today. It's fun. Although we are missing George. It was good to have a male voice in there. Hopefully, George will come back on another time. Anyway, today, what we wanted to talk about, and I didn't see if anybody responded to my email, but the part I took away is that we are going to talk about the chaos of activities that we can be required to attend. And so, for some people, I really saw this when my kids were involved. Some people, it was all joy. Like going to everything their kids did was all joy. And as the mother of 5, there was some joy. And I especially, this is not a good characteristic, but I was more joyful when my kid was doing something than if I was watching other people's kids do something. So occasionally I might sit at a football game looking at my phone. And the thing that amazed me is that my kid would know. Like I'm on the bleachers and there would be some kind of play that takes place and I'd hear that I was supposed to be cheering, so I would. And after the game I'd say great play and my kid would say, "You didn't see it. You were on your phone." Now, how does that happen? How can you be in the moment on the field making the play and noticing that your mother is not watching? Anyway, many more times I was watching. Mostly I was watching, but they noticed the times that I wasn't. So I'm going to pass it on to Mindy.
I had 3 kids that were very involved with sports, and I loved. Well, it was love hate. I mean, I loved going. I loved going when they were playing and playing well. I loved going when the parents weren't crazy and wacko and screaming. So I miss it. I enjoyed the parental camaraderie. I just, what my kids played all the way through college. And yeah, it was really hard to all of a sudden one day, well, what are we doing this weekend? Where are we going? So I loved it. I don't know if my kids ever looked for me in the stands. I truly don't. But I think it's great. And I will say now that I'm getting older, the flip side is, for example, I last Thursday tried wakeboarding for the first time at this ripe old age. I'm still feeling pain from my death grip, as someone called it. But my friends up here were like, "Okay, we got to get a video. Why? To send it to your boys, right?" So even now, I enjoy. It's like I never quite made it, but a lot of good video of me falling. So I totally get that. Like I want them to see it. I want to see that I tried. I failed and I tried. So I flipped that around to today's discussion. And I totally get why kids want their parents there, good or bad, because failing, we were able to laugh. When my kids failed, I was able to be there for them. So I think it's great. And I miss it today. And I would encourage parents, when your kids are involved, go enjoy. So that's my spiel. And I will pass it down to Kamira.
Good morning. Thank you, Mindy. So I was the mom who was always there. I promise our sons, if you're doing something, to the best of my ability, I am front and center. I may not understand what it is, but I'm going to be there. I may not be able to help you with what it is, but you can count on me to support you. So I was at most things. And if I wasn't there, there was an excuse. And I really tried to support them by, I was the mom who ran the concessions during the musicals and that kind of stuff. Because I wanted to contribute. If they were involved in these things, I thought our family should contribute somehow or something. I really like watching basketball games and sports activities like that, where you can get into it. I really like doing that. That wasn't all of our stuff. I had a son who loved role-playing games, Magic and Dungeons and Dragons, and they would have these tournaments. And he was young. And these tournaments could last like 6 hours. And we would go because we wouldn't drop them off because they would be in sketchy locations. And also there were like creepy adults who were there during the like, 15 and under tournaments. And we were like, we're not leaving our kid there. So we became the parents who were escorting all of his little friends, and wasting our time and like finding things to read and bringing the laptop and working in the corner and stuff. So that wasn't as enjoyable as watching, say, a basketball game or, going to a track meet is fun when your kid is up for that 3 minutes that they're running and you're at the meet for 3 hours, or that's swimming also. So we did a lot of that and just tried to make the best of it. Now that we are quasi empty nesters with the last one in college, you would think my days are done, but we have a son who's an educator and a coach. So we go to his games. And what I've started to do, because earbuds are wonderful, is I can listen to an audiobook during his games. So that's just a little advice out there for parents. And you can still see what's going on and be into it and have a little bit of your own time. I did confess it to him because he's old enough to understand. But if you have little ones, I wouldn't confess it to them that that's what you're doing. I'm going to send it. I'm going to go back. No, I'm going to send it over to Jessica. That's it.
All right. I was about to say, because, every kid in my family has been like a music kid, but a different category. So like choir, older brother was orchestra, younger brother was a band. So like the marching band. And then Stephen also did a lot of sports. So I think between my two parents, they managed to go to pretty much everything. But I was going to say, because my older brother is now a music teacher. And a couple of times, actually, a while ago, he managed to restart the, what's it called? The musical, the like school musical that hadn't happened in like 20 years at the school. And my parents and me and my little brother were able to drive all the way up to over to Indiana to watch that. And then like another time, new school, first time he was running the musical and we managed to go to that one. And I will say that my older brother did tell his middle schoolers that like, yeah, no, my parents are here to watch too. And they were just absolutely tickled by that. They thought it was the funniest thing. It's just like, yeah, no, I almost 30 and parents still want to come and see my stuff. And I mean, we haven't been able to make every single musical because of course not. He lives pretty far away, but I think my parents really, really enjoy seeing our stuff. I guess I'll pass it down to Melissa.
So I also tried to go to everything. My kids were early on, they were in sports, and then they moved into more musical type things. And I tried to get to every performance and work the concession stands and stuff. But I will share a massive screw up, like massive. So I was in a writing program, and my very first weekend of the writing program was my daughter's high school graduation. So I missed her high school graduation. And not only that, but she got an award that we did not know she was going to get. So I missed that too. But
Melissa, I can't tell you how grateful I am to hear somebody up here say that. Thank you. Thank you for all the parents who have screwed up. Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah. It was massive. I mean, she was a good sport about it. And when they picked my husband and my kids picked me up at the airport, my daughter put on her cap and gown to meet me so that I would have like some semblance of being there. But yeah, I still feel bad about it to this day. But I will say it may have had something to do with a carryover to college graduation, where for some reason her university had like three university graduations, like one for the whole university, one for the school, and then another one because she was in the honors college. And I was like, you're asking too much of this person, like me. Like, I cannot do that. So I ended up going to one. But I mean, like, I made it to one. Like, that was better than I did in the past. But yeah, I'm just saying, if you mess up, they still love you. You still get props. So for trying and for feeling bad. Okay. I'm passing it over to Eka.
Good morning. I was thinking about this question, and I wanted to discuss how, as a parent, you sometimes can't win no matter what you do. So one of the stories I have was my daughter was a dancer, and they would have visitation visitation week where normally you couldn't watch, but then you could once at the end of like semesters you could go, and they would have the studio would be open and you could go and watch. And so my daughter said to me, I don't like when you come watch because I feel judged. So I don't want you to come. And I was like, but I want to come. And she's like, well, I don't dance as well when you're watching because it makes me really nervous. So I said, okay, I won't watch. So then I was sitting on the couch and the director came over and she said, why aren't you watching? And I said, because my daughter says that my eyes look judgy and it makes her nervous. And she said, okay, come with me. So she took me to this, by the door, where the door opened, there was a crack in the door and I could sit and she couldn't see me and I could look through the crack in the mirrors and I could watch the whole thing. And unless you were looking in this crack to see my eye, you wouldn't know I was watching. So I watched the entire class. And then as they were finishing with their curtsies, like I ran back and sat on the couch. And she came out and she said, have you been sitting on this couch? I was like, well, you told me not to watch. And she said, I wish you would watch because I had the best class ever. Seriously, girl?
You
Seriously.
did win. That's a win because you watched and she wasn't affected by you.
Right. But then she was like, I'm really sad you didn't watch. And she goes, I wish you had watched. And I said, well, you told me not to. She's like, well, I kind of wish you had. So, I mean, really. So, and then another story I want to tell is I have a friend whose daughter was running track and her daughter said to her, you're just like too involved. All my friends, everybody's times, with this. And she's like, it drives me crazy. You just need to step back. So she was carpooling with this other girl and that she got in the car and the mother said to this other girl, she said, oh, I saw your times for your hurdles and you took off, this much time, whatever. And this girl says, thank you so much for noticing because my mother doesn't know anything about this and she doesn't know any of my times. And it's really great that you do. And I was like, okay, there you go. You can't win. So that's my story about being there. So you can be there, but you cannot be there. I mean, I don't know. So maybe you guys have better luck than I have and my friend had. So I'm going to pass it up to Francisca.
Good morning. My kids are mainly involved in dance and in music too. I do try to be there all the time, and I find it much easier the older they get. And just because I remember when they started dancing, and you would have to go to these recitals that would take like 2 hours, and they would be on the stage for 1 minute, but you would have to sit there the whole time. And so I find this much more enjoyable now that they are like in half of the numbers and you're like, okay, I actually really get to see you most of the time instead of just waiting for that one tiny, minute where you come up. But I do think the difference now is back then, right? I had to have everything under control. I had to do their hair. I'm like, if their costume is on wrong, it's my fault. So I had to be there for the rehearsals and stuff. And now I'm like, well, I don't want to go because, well, you don't need me. But also then I'm actually surprised. I see it for the first time when I come to the show. But I do feel guilty because there are a lot of parents, even of the older kids, who sit like through the whole rehearsal and all of this. And then I come, and pick them up and they're like, oh yeah, all these other parents were there the whole time. I'm like, yeah, but you don't need me for this anymore. Like, I no longer need to fix your costumes. So that's kind of, I feel like the change that comes with the older they get. All right, I'll send it back to Sue.
For me, it was where in the birth order and how long I'd been doing it. So those dance recitals, they were brutal. I don't care what age they were, because it was rude to leave when your kid was done, but it's a lot. It's a lot to ask. But when the kids went through things over and over and over again, it just felt like I did a lot of shows. I had 4 kids who did musical theater. And, like, honestly, if they had a big part, it was much more enjoyable to watch 2 weekends of 3 nights and watch it. And then my husband and I started splitting them because, yeah, you should have somebody there. And if my in-laws were going, maybe we would take a night off. But we always had somebody in the audience representing them. And the same with football. Well, football, my husband wouldn't miss anything. No way he was missing football. But anyway, to everybody out there, it's a lot on our plate. Like, I know that there's so much joy in it, but I don't think my parents struggled with this the same way, of like, the end of the year chaos of having to show up for 18 different things for each teacher and each extracurricular. And like, there were dads in particular who would come to the football practices every day. And that's setting the bar way too high for me. I am not doing that. Okay, so Kumar, tell us who you're interviewing tomorrow.
Okay. I also want to say thank you to the parents out there, the people who fill in when you can't make it, or for those who are working and they're taking videos of someone else's kid and sending it to them and stuff. Thank you for all the people who do that and who are doing all the behind the scenes stuff, because not all of us have the capacity to do all that. So thank you to those parents. Tomorrow we are talking personal finance education with Melanie Mortimer. It'll be very interesting. You want to get this information because you want to know how to talk to your children about personal finance and how to teach them about it along the way so that they can make responsible decisions with their money.
Oh, and tomorrow, our podcast is dropping, and it's an interview with Dr. Michael Greenberg, who specializes in OCD. He's a psychologist and my son-in-law. So everybody listen to it. It's really interesting. That's completely objective, by the way. It is really interesting. All right, everybody, have a great week. See you next week.